2024 Dynasty Rookie Running Back Rankings. It's the first time I'm making a ranking list for the 2024 rookie class. And we're just going to jump right into it, guys. I'm not going to waste your time. I have 15 running backs here for you today. And, you know, I've been diving deep into this running back class. We have Dynasty Rookie Profiles out on the channel. You should check those out. And honestly, the more and more I'm diving into this this rookie class, I know a lot of people are saying it's a really weak running back class. I kind of disagree with them. I think there's some interesting guys here. There's about 6 or 7 guys that I'm intrigued about, even more than intrigued, like that I think could be solid contributors to fantasy football. So depending on landing spot and where they go, we will see. A lot of teams that still need running backs in the NFL. A lot of the running backs that have been fantasy relevant over the last couple of years have been are getting older. You know, that's the fact of the matter. The Ecklers, the Mixons, the Derrick Henrys, you know, all the McCaffrey even. You know, these guys are getting older. We need a kind of a new crop of guys to come in. So maybe not all these guys will be relevant in 2024, but I can see some relevancy beyond 2024 here. So we're going to start off with my tier 1 here. I have actually 4 guys in tier 1. That's the difference between last year. It was pretty clear that Bijan was in the first tier and Jahmyr Gibbs was, you know, up there as well. This year, it's not as clear. I have 4 guys. I have Trey Benson, who I think is my RB1 in this draft class. Just like the size speed combination, you know, he's 6 foot, 220, or he can get up to 220. He runs in the 4.33s. So he's pretty productive for FSU there. And I just think he has all the skills and the size and the athleticism necessary to be a complete workhorse 3-down back in the NFL, or close to it. Jonathan Brooks is also up here in my tier 1. Jonathan Brooks honestly would probably be RB1 if he didn't tear his ACL in November, early November, I think it was. We'll see here. We're going to know a lot. If a team's going to take him in the second round, that's probably going to mean they're not too worried about him, at least not contributing something in 2024. If he goes kind of late, we could see a redshirt year potentially from him. That's tough when you're drafting running backs, especially if you plan to draft him in the early to mid-second round of your dynasty rookie drafts. Man, it's tough to just have a year where they do nothing at running back, right? Because running backs are too volatile. We want to get what we can out of them and move on, right? And so I think the draft and where he goes will be pretty telling in terms of how teams are feeling about his recovery. But yeah, if he didn't tear his ACL, he could, you know, probably would have been the top running back in this draft class. Marshawn Lloyd, which may surprise people, to me, is in this tier 1. Man, I love what I see from Marshawn Lloyd. He just wasn't used enough at USC to like show you completely like dominant numbers, but all the underlying stats behind him are extremely, extremely exciting. Runs a 4.46, has the highest elusive rating and breakaway percentage out of this draft prop. Elusive rating is your ability to break tackles. Breakaway percentage is how explosive plays, you know, 15 yards or more down the field. He has it all. He can catch the ball. I'm excited about Marshawn Lloyd. I hope he gets the draft capital. And again, a lot of this can change, guys, with draft capital. Unfortunately, you know, if Marshawn Lloyd goes in the 5th round, I have to lower him on my rankings. That's how it is for running backs. It's super, I mean, for any position really, but that's kind of like the number one determining factor is draft capital. And finally, I have Jalen Wright here. Jalen Wright, another one of these guys where it's just like, man, they should have used them just a little bit more, in my opinion. But I love what I see out of Jalen Wright. Super, super excited to see him in the NFL. You know, he only had 137 carries last year. He ran for over 1,000 yards. That's crazy good. Also had 22 catches, which is good for a college running back. He ran I believe a 4.38. Yeah, 4.38 is what he ran. He's good size. You know, he's 5'10", 210, so he can easily get up to 215. He kind of has it all, man. And I think can be a pretty good pass catcher. These 4 guys, I'm not going to be surprised if any one of them are going to be the RB1 out of this draft class. So again, a lot's going to be determined by draft capital. I think Trey Benson and Jonathan Brooks are almost assuredly going to go by the 3rd round, or by the end of the 3rd round. Lloyd and Jalen Wright, we'll see. I hope they get the draft capital. That's it for my tier 1. Maybe surprising. I think most people have Benson and Brooks in there. Could be surprising about Marshawn Lloyd and Jalen Wrights. Tier 2, a lot of, we're going to start off with the guy that a lot of people think should be in the tier 1 is Blake Corum. Now, I'm much lower on Blake Corum than the average person, I will admit. I watched his tape from 2023. I'm just not impressed. I think he benefited a lot from having maybe the best offensive line in college football. He got the volume, right? That was part of it. His numbers, if you're just looking at his numbers, the underlying stuff, the elusive rating, the breakaway percentage, it wasn't there last year. He really regressed, honestly, from 2022. Now, I do have to keep in mind he was coming off an ACL. So that is something I need to keep in my mind. And generally, we see guys their first year, whether it's NFL or college, coming off an ACL, and they don't look right the first year. It takes them until the second year off the ACL where they start to look good. So I do have to take that into account. There is value in a running back that's able to take on a full workload like Blake Corum did. So I need to recognize that as well. But man, there's just certain things that I'm not super excited about, but I need to recognize that there's a really good chance if he goes in the second round to like the Chargers or a really good team, then I'm going to bump him up to tier 1. I will. A lot's I'm flexible here, and a lot will depend on draft capital, like I've been saying. A couple more guys in this tier. Braylon Allen, to me, I know some people are higher on him than others. Some people are lower. Braylon Allen, he has the size to be a workhorse running back. Maybe a little bit too big, to be honest. He's like 6'1", 235. Maybe he can afford to lose 5 to 10 pounds. He didn't run at the combine, which is a little disappointing. I don't know. I'm going to look this up as I talk. Wisconsin Pro Day, when that is. Looks like they already did it, and he didn't run at the combine. I don't think he ran at the pro day. Don't know his speed and stuff like that. But I do have to acknowledge he has the frame to be an every down back, right? That's something. Size still matters for running backs as much as we don't want to say it does. It doesn't matter as much. You're right. It still does matter for running backs like Kyron Williams, Devon Achane, explosive, awesome players, both kind of undersized. Both were hurt last year. Now, is it a coincidence? Maybe. But size does matter to be able to take on a full working load. It matters for NFL teams as well. Braylon Allen, he was coming into 2023, was kind of looked upon as like potentially the RB1 in this draft class. And he was kind of a disappointment in terms of his advanced metrics in 2023. People expected a little bit more, and we just didn't get it. So I still like the guy. I think he could, someone could fall in love with him, draft him in the second or third round, and he goes to a good spot, and we're gonna be happy again. Last guy I have in this tier is Bucky Irving. Man, watch Bucky Irving's tape, and the dude is awesome. Now, he falls into that category of the size issues, right? At the running back position. I believe, I'm just going to double check this. He looks like 5'9", 192. So he's under that 200-pound threshold. We want to see him north of 200. It's always going to be a concern. It really is. As much as we hate it, teams are going to be reluctant to maybe give him the entire workload. But, man, you just watch his tape, and the dude is awesome. He doesn't go down with first contact. He's always breaking tackles, it seems like. He has good, not great speed. He has a good initial burst, in my opinion. His ability to break tackles is one of the best in this draft class, despite being under 200 pounds. Can he put on a little more weight? Maybe. Can he be good in the NFL despite being underweight? Yes, he can. I like Bucky Irving a lot. A lot's going to depend on, again, where does he go? What does the NFL think about him? But to me, he's in this tier 2. Guys who, to me, they could get early draft capital. And I wouldn't be like shocked. It would be a little surprising if any one of these guys turned out to be the best running back in this draft class, but I'm not going to be like, how'd this happen? Next up here, we have intriguing tier. We only have 4 tiers. We have the intriguing tier here. These are just some guys that I find, I don't know where they're going to go in the draft. Like the top 4 guys in that tier, I expect all those guys to be drafted by the end of round 3 or early round 4. probably the tier 2 guys, I expect them to be drafted around that range as well. These other guys could be anywhere from day 2 to late day 3. I really don't know. A lot of it's going to depend on where they go, as I've been saying, in draft capital. But there's some things that are intriguing that if they do get good draft capital, I'm going to be in on them later in my Dynasty rookie drafts, my 3rd rounds, my 4th rounds. We're going to start off this list here with, who do I want to start with? I'm going to start with a guy that I don't hear a lot of people talking about, and I really like, is Kimani Vidal from Troy. This dude is the epitome of just production. Like, you go and look at his stats, all 4 years, I believe it was, at Troy, and he produces. 4 years at Troy, 500 yards rushing, 700, 1100, 1600. So he was always involved. You know, obviously his first 2 years he wasn't as involved, but he was always involved. He's caught at least 20 passes 3 of his 4 years, 25 or more 2 of his 4 years. Those are good numbers for a college running back. Catching 20, 25 passes in college is really, really good. He's averaged over 5 yards a carry. I think he's a sleeper in this draft. I really do, because I don't hear a lot of people talking about him. I made a Dynasty rookie profile where I broke down a little bit more, but the production's there, the breakout age is there. He runs good. He runs a 4.46. His 10-yard split, how fast are you in the first 10 yards, is 1.53, which I think is like top 3 or 4 in this draft class. He's shown ability to break tackles. He's not super explosive necessarily, and he's not amazing in the passing game, I don't think. I think if he were the lead back, he could catch 30, 40 balls pretty easily. I'm super excited about him. Don't hear a lot of guys talking about him, so I hope he gets decent, at worst, 5th round draft capital. Higher is better, of course, but if he gets 5th round draft capital or better, goes to a good team, I'm going to be kind of in on him. He's going to be maybe my most rostered player in my 3rd or 4th round of my Dynasty rookie draft. So Kimani Vidal, check him out. Check out my Dynasty rookie profile on him to get more information. Another guy that I really like. Oh, one other thing about Kimani Vidal, and with a couple of these guys that are in this tier. Okay, not so much with Vidal. He's going to be 23 before the NFL season starts. A little bit old. Ray Davis is another guy. The age is a concern. It's going to knock him down a little bit in the draft. I believe, he turned 24. He's already 24. So he'll be 25 during the season. So he's old. You know, drafting a 24-year-old running back, teams don't like to do that. They don't like to spend 3rd, 4th round draft capital on guys like that unless they truly believe in him. But he does have some intriguing stuff. He's another guy like Kimani Vidal who just produces, man. He produced all, I believe, 5 years, 4 of his 5 years in college. He played at Temple, Vanderbilt, and Kentucky. He produced in all those places, which is nice to see. Different run schemes he produced. He has good size at, he's 5'9", I believe, 210, 212, right around there. He has decent speed, not great speed. He's good, pretty good at breaking tackles and pretty good at explosive runs. So I'm intrigued by what I see about Ray Davis. Again, a lot's going to depend on where he goes. Teams might be afraid of the age, but if you're drafting a 5th round guy and if you get 3 years out of 5th round draft pick at running back, you're excited, right? So I don't think age should come too much into play. It's obviously going to limit to how high he goes, but let's go to another guy that maybe a lot of you are thinking about. Why isn't he higher? Is Audric Estime. When I first watched his tape back in January, I was like, it doesn't. These type of players don't do much for me. I like the more elusive, shifty lateral movement guys, not these big, Brian Robinson plotter type of guys. Audric Estime obviously has the size. He obviously produced at Notre Dame the last 2 years, over 31%, or he was 31% of Notre Dame's offense in 2023. Went through Audric Estime. Again, he has the size. He's 5'11", 220. But I watched him and was like, dude, this guy is slow. And then he ran at the combine. He ran a 4.71. Usually 4.6 is like red flag, right? We do see some guys every now and then be good. Kyron Williams is one of them that ran a 4.6. It's a little bit more understandable for Estime because he's bigger. Kyron Williams is small and slow. He's at least big. So that's going to be, a check a positive for teams when they're evaluating these guys. Teams still do like these big bruisers that can run between the tackles. He did have good elusive rating, a pretty good breakaway percentage, but 4.71 is hard to ignore. His 10-yard split, it was a 1.58, so it's not like he ran well in the first 10 yards. He was super slow in the first 10 yards. I don't see it for Audric Estime, but a lot of people had him as a top 5 running back coming into this draft process. I think he's fallen because of the combine stuff. I don't want to just completely leave him off the list because I do have to recognize that he was considered maybe a top 5 talent at the running back position. I'm just kind of out. I'm not really into, unless he gets like second or high third round draft capital to a good team. I'm kind of out on Audric Estime, but I do have to acknowledge that he was ranked pretty highly to a lot of people that are smarter than me. Couple more here, guys, that I'm going to talk about in this list. Isaac, I think it's Guerendo. I'll be honest, he wasn't really on my radar until the combine. And man, this guy, if anyone increased their stock in the combine, it was him. So really, really good size. He's 6 foot, 220. The dude's a beast, right? He's like the Trey Benson. He ran a 4.33, which is insane for a guy that's 6 foot, 220 at the running back position. Now, it's not the be all end all. Actually, if you look at fantasy running backs who have been relevant over the last 15 years, their average 40 time is about 4.5 flat, 4.51. So it's more about what you do in the 10-yard split to me. The running backs are going to do a lot more 10-yard runs than they are 40-yard runs. He was fine in the 10-yard split. He wasn't amazing, but he was fine. He was just kind of average, I should say. But man, his broad jump, which shows explosiveness, was awesome. He does have some good underlying stats. You know, his PFF rush grade was 90.3, which is, I believe, like top 5 or 6 in this draft class. He has a pretty good yards per route run in the passing game at 1.34. Nothing amazing, but solid number. His breakaway percentage, which is the amount of yards that come from runs that are 15 yards or more, is almost 50%, which is what you want to see. His elusive rating was really good. He broke a lot of tackles. He was productive. He went to Wisconsin, didn't get his opportunity. Wisconsin went to Louisville last year, and it was fine. 19% of Louisville's offense. So he has intriguing stuff. The athleticism in particular for him is what is intriguing. Dylan, I always forget. Labe? I think it's Labe. Dylan Labe, and maybe another guy that not a lot of people have on their radar because he went to New Hampshire. But man, this guy was like the offense for New Hampshire. Like, he was everything. What's super intriguing about him is his versatility. He can run the ball. He can catch the ball. I think the NFL is just heading more and more into a versatile type of league. We want these players that can do everything. Labe can line up at wide receiver. He can run the ball between the tackles. Now, he's not going to be this amazing runner, but he could just be a weapon for a team. And if he needs to get to the right system. If he gets to like the Chiefs, the Rams, the Vikings, some teams that really, San Francisco, they know how to run an offense and be creative with it. I'm going to like him. I'm going to be in on him. He had incredible receiving numbers, like 70 catches last year, along with like 160 carries. Just a lot of intriguing stuff there. His versatility in particular. At the combine, he was okay speed, 4.54, but in the 10-yard split, which again, to me is a little bit more indicative of fantasy success, as at the running back position, he ran a 1.52. That's, I think, tied for the second best in this draft class. It's tied with Trey Benson for second best in the draft class. So, obviously he's a really good pass catcher. I think at the worst, he can be a pass catcher, but I didn't put him in the pass catcher tier because I think he can be more than that. So, he could be a guy that gets 8 to 10 carries and 4 targets every game. And that has value if he can be efficient with those touches. So last guy in this list that's intriguing is Kendall Milton out of Georgia. Now, Georgia kind of did the split backfield while he was there at Georgia. So he didn't have huge numbers. He was 18% of his team's total offense in 2023. Breakout age of 21. So he's still pretty young. I think he's 21 or 22 years old. Now, a lot of people are going to look at the 4.62 40-yard time, which is, again, not ideal. We want to see faster number. But his 10-yard split, again, how fast are you in the first 10 yards? He's a 1.51, a 1.51, which is tied for the best in this draft class. It's tied with Keelan Robinson, who ran a 4.42, Jaden Sheridan, who ran a 4.45, and that's it. He's tied with those two guys for the fastest 10-yard split. And again, running backs, I like to judge, what do you do with 10 yards, your initial burst, right? There's a lot more 10-yard runs than there are 40-yard runs, right? And that initial burst, even if you aren't necessarily super fast, if you initially beat defensive backs and linebackers at the second level, you're probably going to go all the way. So he has some really intriguing stuff. He obviously has the size as well. He is 6'1", 225. So it makes sense why he runs a 4.62. He's super explosive. Can break tackles. I like what I see out of Kendall Milton, see where he'll go in the draft. And then we have two pass catchers here. I think they can find themselves find themselves in 2024 having a role for a team as a pass catcher. And then who knows from there? Can you develop into more, or are you strictly a pass catcher? Tony Pollard is an example of a guy who went from kind of a pass catcher to being more involved. Austin Eckler is another guy. Now, there's some guys that just live as pass catchers. Maybe these guys fall in that category and they're not super fantasy valuable. But they're going to get on the field. What I like about them is that they're going to get on the field, in my opinion, to be that third down pass catching back. And they're going to get a chance to show more. Hey, I'm more than this. So those two players are Michael Wiley out of Arizona and Blake Watson out of Memphis, Old Dominion and Memphis. Both these guys are two of the best pass catchers in this draft class. Michael Wiley had a 2.21 yards per route run, which is elite number for a college running back, especially 2.21 yards per route run, which was the best in this draft class. He was kind of used as a hybrid player. He never had more than 113 carries is his most carries in a season, but 18 catches, 33 catches, 36 catches, 28 catches. The guy was catching the ball a lot. So he was consistently going over, 600-700 yards total between pass catching and running. So can he develop into a little bit more? I don't know. Is he going to get on the field to be able to show that he can? Yes. In my opinion, yes. He's 5'10", 210, so he has good size, decent speed at 4.51 and a 1.54 10-yard split. So interested to see where he goes. And then Blake Watson kind of used as like a hybrid wide receiver running back there for a little bit at Old Dominion. And then he got his chance at Old Dominion, but he caught 53 at Memphis last year. He had 192 carries and he caught 53 balls. Like, this guy was dominant. Basically the 2 years that he got an opportunity at Old Dominion in 2022 and Memphis in 2023. So he put up over 1,200 yards in 2022 with 37 catches. And then he just put up over 1,600 yards, I believe, at Memphis with 53 catches. At the very least, he's going to be a pretty good pass catcher in this draft class. And for a team, the size is a little bit of concern. He's like 5'9", 195. So will he develop into more? I don't know. But again, he'll get on the field. So those are my top 15 running backs broken into 4 different tiers, rookie running backs. Let me know what you think, what you agree with, disagree with. I'm always happy to discuss and debate. But yeah, as always, guys, I appreciate you watching. If you can like and subscribe, that would be fantastic. And we will catch you guys all next time.